Welcome back to The Evil Within. This is our Akumu run. We're in Chapter 2. This is the first time that Sebastian gets to the hospital, what he sees as the hospital. There's a lot of discussion about what the hospital represents. Obviously, from a gaming perspective, from a game architecture perspective, it provides you a hub, a place where you can upgrade yourself, you can upgrade your equipment. It's kind of a safe room, if you will. You're not going to be attacked inside the hospital. However, metaphorically, I mean, everybody that knows this director and the great level of detail that he puts into the stories, this is more than just a game mechanic. It's something that means an awful lot to the game itself. The fact that it's a safe room means exactly that. It's a safe room, and you should take it very literally that way. I think I have a way to explain this that might be a little bit unique, but bear with me. I think it's wholly consistent with our view of the game. The hospital is a construct of Leslie Withers. Leslie is the young boy that you found in the ambulance.
Bodies found in Lakeside town. Cause of death remains a mystery. More than a dozen mutilated bodies found in village of Elk River. Several residents unaccounted for.
Leslie is unique in the game lore in the sense that he is the only mental patient that was ever attached to STEM while Ruvik was in there that was ever able to come back out of STEM and remain who he was. He's not completely lucid. I mean, he's obviously a mental patient, but he was still as cognizant as he was when he went in, and still the same person that he was when he went in, when he came back out. And he's unique in that way. Once Ruvik was connected, people were dying when they were coming back out. So from a mechanical sense, a very mechanical sense of the way Dr. Jimenez, the doctor that you found in the hospital, that was trying to console and comfort Leslie in the ambulance, he sees it as a way to go in and out of STEM, the virtual reality of STEM, while Ruvik is still in control in STEM. From Ruvik's perspective, you find this in notes later on in the game. From Ruvik's perspective, as Ruben, when he was first doing his research, he found that his brainwaves would sync with Leslie. So he feels that he can, if you will, download his conscious, Ruben Victoriano's conscious, into Leslie and take Leslie over. And so if Leslie's in the STEM, Ruvik's goal is to not consume Leslie, but instead to download himself into Leslie, to completely take over Leslie. And then when Leslie comes out of the STEM, Ruvik will be in Leslie. The hospital, as a construct of Leslie, is how Leslie has been surviving when he's connected to the STEM.
This is for your own.
You'll notice that the environment in here is stable. Nothing's shifting around. Everything's stable. It's high resolution. When Sebastian enters here, it's complete. It feels like almost a safe haven. I mean, other than this seems like a torture device, but at the same time, this hospital itself seems as a safe haven. Leslie has walled off a part of his consciousness. An ability that isn't uncommon in mentally disturbed people, an ability to find a place of solitude and silence inside their own mind where they can go and calm down. That's how Leslie's been surviving it. Leslie sees Sebastian in the ambulance and sees how everybody is kind of deferring to him, sees how strong of a character Sebastian is, sees maybe a protector, maybe a savior. And what Leslie has done here, as the ambulance is going over the cliff, metaphorically, obviously they're not physically in an ambulance. This is all a simulated world. It's all rendered by STEM. But Leslie saw in Sebastian something that, like the knight in shining armor concept, the protector, and Leslie has let Sebastian in. You notice that only Sebastian was there, not Joseph, not Kidman, not Dr. Jimenez, only Sebastian. He pulled Sebastian into his sanctuary to hold Sebastian close and keep him safe from losing it because Sebastian was in a tether as well, right? I mean, as strong as he may have seemed and as in control as he seemed, more control than obviously Officer Connelly, who was turned into a zombie. But Leslie saw something of strength in him, but he pulled him into this sanctuary, this place that he has used in the past to stay safe inside the stem. By doing that, he's opened his door. And there's a tragic part to this whole concept, and the concept that Leslie is seen a protector in Sebastian. Sebastian has no clue what's going on, right? He's confused. He doesn't know whether he's in the real world or not. He doesn't really know that he's in STEM. He's never heard of STEM. He knows nothing about any of that. He's finding himself coming to grips with reality seems to have shifted in a pretty horrifying way. And as he's doing that, Leslie has already been through this multiple times, and he pulls Sebastian into his sanctuary to keep him safe. But by doing that, he opens himself up. And now his sanctuary isn't his sanctuary anymore. But we're going to see this theme throughout the game. Sebastian's going to keep going back to the hospital. And it's a place where he survives and where he fortifies himself. I want to talk a little bit about this scene. You see up on the corners the gameplay from the original Resident Evil and from the upgraded Resident Evil of 2015. And this is Shinji saying, "This is my property. I own this. I did this." And kudos to him. All great stuff. Just a big fan. So, I think it was done at least as well here as it was in the original games. It was so similar that it's hard to say one was better than the other. They were all the same. I particularly like the original and this one rather than the kind of cut. In fact, in the 2015 remake, in some areas of the world where it was first put out, it was actually cut to be not quite as gruesome. I like these. So, okay, so. We've established what I think the hospital is. It's a construct that is inside of Leslie's mind. And Leslie has seen in Sebastian some sort of fortitude and that might be of use to protect him. That he's decided to
Were you warning me about this?
risk his sanity and risk himself
I'm a police officer.
to allow Sebastian
Maybe I should
in
help you.
because he
Should
thinks
help
that
you.
ultimately
Shit.
Sebastian may be able to
How am I
truly
gonna get
save
you to a
him
hospital?
rather than just weathering the storm inside of a sanctuary. Sebastian may be able to truly
What the fuck?
save him. But you see what it's cost Leslie. You see it right there. Leslie isn't able to go into a sanctuary now and get the same, just weather the storm inside the sanctuary. Now he's a little bit stuck. If you think back to shows like movies like, say, The Rain Man, you know how Raymond sees something in Tom Cruise's character in his brother that he so desires and wants to be in touch with, but at the same time the chaos that his brother brings to his life is in some ways traumatic. And that's what Sebastian is doing. He doesn't understand what's going on, so when he enters the hospital he doesn't really know that he's invading Leslie's sanctuary. So this isn't really a cutscene, but it's critical. From my perspective, Nurse Tatiana is a construct of Leslie.
November 2004. Finally, I got my gold badge. Detective Sebastian Castellanos. I like the sound of that. Seems a long time coming, but they say that I'm one of the fastest ever to rise through the ranks. Can't wait to get started. I know I can do more as a detective than I ever could as a beat cop. Plus, I don't have to wear that damned uniform anymore. And the pay bump doesn't hurt either. KCPD needs all the help they can get. There's a seemingly disproportionate amount of crime these days. Crimson City is my home, and it's my job to protect it.
If you think back to in chapter 1, we talked about how everybody's memory of a place is different. So as STEM is trying to render the world, it often has problems trying to render areas where people have different memories of it. You know, somebody remembers the corner of a street different buildings being on the corner of different streets. And so it's having a hard time rendering the world, if you will. We discussed that in chapter 1.
I don't know if that
But
was a bad dream.
this construct
or
inside
this
of
is.
Leslie's brain, his sanctuary,
Whatever is the matter?
it's highly detailed. It's highly consistent.
Serial killer on the loose. Victims had surgery performed on them. Police believe slaying's the work of a serial killer. Missing persons in several local communities.
And we'll talk about how it changes over the course of the game.
Missing persons. Leslie Withers. Psychiatric patient Leslie Withers disappeared from a locked room at Beacon Mental Hospital.
Okay, so the reason this part of the hospital seems so stable and so uniform and consistent is because this is Leslie's internal picture. Nobody else would have seen this hospital from this perspective. Sebastian's never even seen this part of the hospital. He doesn't even know what part of the hospital he might be in, or if he's even in Beacon Mental Hospital. But it's strong and consistent for Leslie. And so it's something that he has a great deal of detail. As a patient, he had a great deal of time spent in the rooms, spent in the lobby there. He's invited Sebastian in, but you notice Sebastian's really only allowed in the lobby there. And the interactions with Tatiana are a little cold and distant. Tatiana is probably the only soul that Leslie had any real connection to in Beacon Hospital at an emotional and compassionate sort of level. She would still, as a nurse and a professional, be emotionally distant from him, not reachable at an intimate sort of level. And I don't mean intimate in a physical way. I just mean, like, he's not going to know her as anything other than a nurse, but he's going to recognize the compassion in her eyes, the compassion in her touch as she gives him medications and injections and things like that. And so he has this real world connection to her, and inside his construct, she serves as a purpose as she's watching what this. I don't want to call him an intruder because I believe he's invited there. Leslie has invited him in, and by showing him Tatiana outside of the hospital in that little hut where she walks into the mirror, he showed Sebastian how to get into the sanctuary. And inside the sanctuary, Tatiana is going to play a key role. She's watching for Leslie to see if this person that Leslie has let in is the type of person that will harm or help help Leslie. And so she's in a sense a gatekeeper to what comes later, what comes behind the walls, the parts of the hospital that Leslie wouldn't be as familiar with. From a lore perspective, this is a very important cutscene. There's no talking, so I'll just go ahead and talk over it. But the beacon light comes across the villagers and turns them into zombies, I believe the game calls them haunted. If you think of the Beacon Hospital, if you think of that big ray of light that's coming across as, if you will, as the radio signal or the wireless signal of STEM. So we established in chapter 1 that there was a wireless connection from STEM. Now watch how I do this. This is I want to segue to the tactics for a moment. This didn't occur to me. I don't know how many times I went through this chapter, but in Akumu, I was having a hard time reading the documents up there. You don't necessarily have to deal with these guys if you just want to get through, but I want to read the document up there, and I was having a hard time getting to it. That turned out to be so simple. One bottle, one match, both of them. That's a good tactic. I like that strategy a lot. Here's another document.
Lakeside Town Note. When did they put a lighthouse on the lake? Has it always been there? That circling light passes over me, passes through me. I feel like it takes something away each time. I can't remember what it was, though.
I remember after the first time we played the game, after reading that and watching that beacon light turn those guys into zombies, I was bound to determine that if I saw a beacon, I had to find cover. I had to find shade, get on the other side of something from that light. But it turns out it's not a thing. It's probably not a thing because Sebastian's will and personal consciousness is strong enough to... The light coming from Ruvik at the center isn't going to overcome him. But if you think of that light from the lighthouse as being that wireless signal that it's coming, and if you stand in its light and you're not strong, it's going to just overcome you, and Ruvik will have basically consumed you in that moment. He will have just burned you down. So if your will can't stand there and take the light, that's that signal. We're going to come up on kind of the larger part of the village. It's sort of the outskirts of the village. I mean, there's a walled part of the village that's beyond across a river, across a bridge. But this kind of outskirts area, the kind of more rural part, where I guess the farming and agriculture part of the village is. I'm going to go into stealth mode here as far as tactics go. There's some good points and some bad points about this. It's certainly not the quickest way through. There's a lot of waiting and a lot of watching, so it gives us a lot of time to talk, lore and what's going on. I think you'll follow my tactics fairly easily. The differences in this area from the main game is that there are extra zombies, such as this guy, who's not there in the lower difficulties. The farmhouse kind of off what would be straight behind Sebastian now. You have to take a branch off there where there's some collectibles that we'll go get later. That area changed dramatically. The way you have to approach it changed dramatically. I mean, they will come, like 6 or 7 will come bubbling out of the front door if you're not careful when you walk up to it. I found this was a fun tactic. I can't say that this time caught on camera. That what's caught on camera is the time I get through the whole thing, right? So I've approached this many times, died many times. This was the time I didn't always die here every time. I died at different places and had to run the whole section over. If you were paying real close attention, you saw a cut back there that was kind of an obvious cut. I guess if you're really watching frame to frame, where I was running up the road. So I got tired of doing the lead in from the hospital all the way up to here and just started trying to cut in at that save point at the start of the village thing. So, but it's funny if you want. Okay, video production notes. The way that was created is I gave up on. I got so tired of running back and doing the lead up part that I decided I would just take it from the cutscene. Then what I did is I literally went back to my manual save point, killed those 2 zombies a few times, and then just practiced running up and down that pathway to get from where those 2 villages are to this area, trying to match the camera angle, trying to match the pace, trying to match whether or not Sebastian's light was on, what he was carrying, so what was showing in the gun thing up there, trying to get that all to match. I came pretty close, but it is what it is. I like this tactic. You draw them over here to this corner, and if you catch it just right, you can get, I think it's 4 of them. You can get all 4 of them standing there, and then you just stand up, and as they go, hey, he's there, and as they move forward. But I think one of them was standing back behind some of the others and didn't get caught, and so he winds up chasing me a bit. But you'll see I'm trying to use the environment, trying to do the stealth thing. We get through it. And it did take some practice to get some of the timing right on the different things, like stepping out that door to get the guy with the stealth kill and then using the bombs. But I found it to be an enjoyable way to play it. It might be a little slow to watch, but hopefully you enjoy the kind of the laugh of 3 or 4 of them. But see, one of them survived. If you get it just right, none of them will survive. You'll get all 4 of them right there. And it might even have been. Is that? I think that's just the 4th guy. Maybe there were 2 guys. I'm not sure. Oh, yep. There's the other guy. So see, I didn't get it. I only got 2 out of the 4, which turns out to be a bad thing. One thing you'll notice that's different about Akumu is this guy will chase you. He won't stop. He will just keep chasing you. I kite him all the way back down now. Since we killed those 2 villagers at the beginning of it, I could pick up the torch there and probably do him that way, but I have plans for that torch, so my goal at the time was to just get away from him. But see, he's still kiting. And And that's definitely a difference from the other easier difficulties. They will follow you. You can eventually get out of sight of him. I mean, even though he's in our sight, we seem to be out of his sight. He has cataracts or something. His eyes are dried out. Who knows? I'm trying to decide whether or not to draw him farther this way or not. I'm thinking, well, he has a long way to go to get back to where his normal patrolling area would be, so I should have time to walk up behind him. So we were talking about the lore, and we were talking about the hospital being Leslie's sanctuary, and now he's let this kind of noisy person, Sebastian, into it. And in the from the noisy perspective, it's not that Sebastian is purposely trying to be noisy or being rude or squatting or trying to interfere with Leslie. He doesn't know that the hospital is Leslie's sanctuary. I don't know that he ever figures that out through the game. This is just the way I see the hospital. And he's made it kind of a less safe place for Leslie. It's not that Leslie's in any danger there. It's just that he can't get the quiet and the calm that he needs from it, that he would normally use to survive his excursions into the stem. On the outside of the hospital, you see how the hospital represents a beacon, the light, the searchlight that is destroying these villagers. That's Ruvik. Ruvik is at the center, as we talked about in chapter 1, and we'll see more clearly as we go on in the game. But Ruben Victoriano has been dissected, and his brain and spinal column have been used now as kind of the central processing of the stem itself. Well, it's physically located at Beacon, and everybody is drawn back to Beacon. I think we talked a little bit about how STEM in some ways is the Matrix, from the movie The Matrix, literally from the movie The Matrix. The similarities are almost undeniable, right? The bathtubs of fluid that the people are resting in, the strand of wires and a big long needle-looking object that's stuck into the back of people's heads. I mean, that's straight out of the movie, right? I mean, I can't believe that they would do that without purposely meaning this is what it is. This is the Matrix. So inside here, everybody's once you're connected to the stem, your conscious mind is basically subdued. Your unconscious and your subconscious is all that's available. From Mobius's perspective, this gives them the ability to make subconscious projections, make subconscious suggestions to you, and this is all through all sorts of sci-fi literature, from Inception, where the person's sleeping so they're unconscious, and you make a suggestion inside their dream that causes them to take real-world actions. That's just one example. There are dozens and dozens of examples of subconscious suggestion being a way to control people. I mean, all the way from the old theory of subliminal messages inside of TV stations. That final, if you're old enough, you might remember. At midnight the TV stations would go out, and then after they'd play the national anthem, you would hear kind of just a sound, like a modem sound. At the time, it wasn't a modem. There was no concept of a modem, but that they're being or in really high speed, like watching a movie, and then like every 10th or 11th frame having a subliminal message just pop out. Your brain won't necessarily render it you won't necessarily see that message, but when you come out, there's been studies shown that by subliminally flashing those messages at people at a frequency, people come out of the theater saying those words. So the whole idea of the subconscious being a key to controlling people's behavior or guiding people where they feel like they're making the decision, but really you influence the decision. You put your thumbs on the scale and made it. That's what Mobius is looking for, right? They're looking for a system where they can just radio wave out and tap into people's subconscious at a subconscious level and make them think something is true, so that then they will act on that. That's what Mobius is looking for. Dr. Jimenez is seeing it from his treatment of psychological patients. He's looking at a way to tap into their subconscious to help guide them out, if you will, to go into their subconscious with them and help guide them out of the maze that has become their way of thinking, and bring them out, maybe cure their mental illnesses. Ruben Victoriano, at his time, he was looking at a way of using the subconsciouses to create a world in which his memory of his sister, his beloved sister Laura, could manifest. That his, if you will, the etherealness of his memories could be almost corporeal in the simulated world. I mean, not corporeal in the sense of bringing her back from the dead, but bringing her back, that at least the her that he knew, back into his world, and this would become his world. So they all had different motives on what STEM was supposed to be. Sebastian doesn't know any of this. All he knows is he went into a hospital, somebody stabbed him in the neck, moving at impossible speeds, and now the world is just this very strange place. And you see, even at the beginning of the chapter, he was trying to talk to the villager when the villager changed. Here I'm going to do kind of the same trick again. There's only 2 of them this time. And they're sort of stuck, but they sorted out. I need them both to get up there. Come on. There you go. All right, now that they're both up there, you want them kind of parallel so that they hit the frame at the same time. What a great shot. Okay, well, that pretty much cleared this area of the village, you know. And if you notice, I was never really in very much danger at all. So I think that was a good strategy. It's not a quick strategy. You need to be careful. Another thing that's kind of changed in this section of the world for Akumu is that there are extra traps. You saw me pick up a few of them. You need to be, if you're wandering around in the dark, the light actually helps, and they can't see your light. It's I don't know why I'm wandering always in the dark. I guess it's because in my head, playing stealth games, having your light on just feels so wrong. But plus, from a camera perspective, that light glares on the camera lens, and it's really hard to kind of watch for me. I don't like playing with it on when I'm squatting around a lot, but certainly in here, turning it on where you can maybe see the place might be nice. Not strictly necessary, but would be nice. So I apologize for kind of the darkness of this one. But if you think this is dark, you just wait until you watch our darkness runs through the assignment, and watch our runs for especially none darker achievement, the consequence on, I think it's called Kiriyami. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. Don't hold me to it. But Kiriyami mode on the consequence. I go ahead and get the fumbling in the dark achievement there. I'd already got it, so it doesn't pop, but I decided to just, as almost a joke, it'll be like about a 20 or 30 minutes of just black screen. All you can see is a little green glow. But, you know, stick with me. We'll talk about Laura during that one too. But it's a ways to come. Obviously, we're just in chapter 2 of this run. I haven't even completed the consequence on Kiriyami mode yet, so at least at the time I'm voicing this, I haven't. Certainly not at the time we completed this. We completed our complete run of Akumu a few weeks ago, but it's still very fresh in my mind. It's probably burned in my mind forever. This was a horrible run. It was so hard to do. I'd like to say I'm proud of what we produced. I am proud of the video. I can't say that getting here was of any fun to me. And if it wasn't for you, my loyal subscribers, which I have very few of, and having promised that I would do it, I would have probably quit. Not here in chapter 2. This was still being fun. It was still entertaining at this point. But in chapter 6, I was done with it by that time. So you'll see when we get there. Okay, so now that the front of that little farmhouse is clear, I died several times figuring out that if you approach the front door, or if you alert those zombies out front in the wrong way, a whole horde of them will come out of that. It's probably only 4 or 5, but it's overwhelming odds, especially since you only have a handgun at this point. You don't have a shotgun even. There's basically no way you're going to handle it except for run. And I get tired of running back and then back and forth. But if you go through this window, especially if you've managed to get here undetected, so, killed those guys out front. No, they haven't already come bursting out. And you see me being so cautious because it's the first time I got through that window where they never came out. But you'll notice something, that the foes that I'm so afraid of, that I'm crouching around trying to hide from, just don't exist. It's only if you come to that front door and bang the front door open, or even open it, I'm just like, where are they? So, as it turns out, that was a good way to approach the cabin. Get those 2 guys out front, kind of stealth-like, or at least away from the cabin. And then come back to the cabin, and you've only faced 1 foe in here that way. I really thought he would hit him with the... I didn't mean to kick him. I thought he would hit him with the torch to start with there. You can see another theme of my gameplay is that when I get excited and something seems like it might kill me, I tend to push hard on the joystick, which turns the light off. So... amusement. Alright, that's cleared the main part of Chapter 2, the first part of the village. All that really remains, I guess there's a little surprise coming up, because even though you cleared the village, and you go back running towards the gate, and there are going to be two more zombies that have just appeared from nowhere. At this point, I don't know if there's going to be 2 zombies, and I'm just happily running towards the gate. And then I see that guy, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe I can stealth kill him, but, I guess I ran a little too close. That is just kind of, and then I swing that, and I realize, there's 2 of them, I better run. You can maybe get both of them with the torch at the same time. I mean, you can, and just whether or not I can get them spaced right. Get them both with the torch at the same time. That is a difference in Akumu that's consistent throughout the whole gameplay, is that their hearing is much, much better. They're much more likely to hear you. Used to, you could almost, as long as you weren't doing the sprint button, as long as you were just running up to them at this speed, you could run up kind of close, then duck down. So that guy saw me, and I thought I would kite him over here and I'd burn him with these hay bales. I was kind of hoping to get both of them, but he's stuck. And watch how stuck he gets. It's kind of amusing. They become so aggressive. They won't change their course. He's trying to. He had in mind where he was supposed to go, and he's going to go there. It's on a treadmill. So Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 focus on, easy enough to get him. Focus on a village here. And this, I believe, is the village that Ruben grew up near. I'm still doing some research to try to decide if I think that both Kidman and Ruben grew up near the same village. There might be a connection there that I can't fully support at this point, but it's something I'm still researching a bit. I'm looking for that other guy, because, clearly there were 2 of them, and I've only killed 1 of them, so where'd he go? You'll notice inside the hospital that while Leslie is providing the structure and architecture of the place, the sanctuary itself, that Sebastian is immediately, right from the beginning, has influenced it in the sense that he's finding newspaper clippings and missing person reports. He's bringing in that police station type feel to the area. He's influencing the contents of the space, if you will. I believe that's Sebastian's subconscious mind trying to give him hints about things that he needs, that his conscious mind wasn't making the connection. So he's been looking into the missing persons. He's a higher ranking police officer. Both Joseph and his wife Myra have been reporting to him, and now Kidman's assigned to him as well. So there's I'm just making sure there's no more surprises. Okay. So now we can open the gate, and that will get us to the second area in chapter. But his subconscious mind is pulling out pieces and parts from casework and okay, so Myra, they had a daughter, and their daughter and the nanny that was taking care of her died in a house fire while Sebastian and Myra were at work. And Myra didn't let it go. She started looking into it more and more, trying to figure out what happened there. You get the hint that she doesn't think it was an accident, that it was arson. And she's investigating that. And then she goes missing. And later on, Sebastian receives a box of paperwork, files, and her notes on the investigation that she's been doing. And so he has quite a bit of the puzzle from an external view. Now, he knows nothing about STEM or Mobius, but he knows that people have gone missing around Beacon Hospital, around this village, and Raccoon City in general. And so his subconscious mind is pulling out pieces and parts of this casework. And I'm healing myself on Akumu. You don't need to do that. I mean, as long as you're healed enough to where you can run, it doesn't matter, because you can be fully healed. It won't matter. You stay in the one touch, one kill. Don't spend any of your gel upgrading your health amount. It will not make any difference whatsoever. So don't spend any upgrades on that. So far, we've only had the one opportunity to upgrade, but we'll get more later, and we'll talk more about what those upgrades represent in future videos. But right now, let me finish kind of the story about Myra. And so Myra goes missing. So Sebastian's looking into that, and he looks into that so hard that the internal review boards are questioning that he's using police resources and police station resources for a personal investigation that isn't authorized. They don't believe she's missing. They believe she left. They think she left him because he was, after the death of their daughter, he turned to alcohol and became basically a drunkard. And so they think that she left him for that. And why she would have walked away from everything else in her life, I don't know, but she walked away from everything, not just him. And so it's not, he goes through a period where his investigation, what he's investigating, is not an open case. He receives this package of documents and files kind of from her, and a note saying, if you're receiving this, then I've gone missing. You need to finish what I was doing. And the paperwork is basically saying the death of their daughter was not an accident. It was not just a simple house fire. It was some purposeful action. Now, we're not told what she thought that personal action was, but what we do find out in the DLCs is that she is actually working for Mobius. In fact, when Kidman comes out of the STEM, she encounters Myra, and Myra is in kind of an authority position inside the STEM, inside the STEM research facility. Theoretically outside the actual STEM itself and inside Raccoon City. Okay, so we've talked a lot about lore. We did some good stealth play and used the environment well. I hope you've enjoyed it. This is one of the better chapters for me, one of the more enjoyable chapters on Akumu. It took us a while to get through it because we, trying to figure out where the foes were. kept being surprised here and there. So it wasn't as smooth as it may have looked here in this presentation, but hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you tomorrow in the next one, where we'll cover at least the first half of Chapter 3. Thank you for watching.